Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shawn Walsh Show, and today I am being joined by a very special guest, a man who has been in very much demand since the beginning of the Shawn Walsh Show, the world's greatest everything, Kevin Cross.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that in all honesty. I don't feel like I do enough to warrant anything like that.
A lot of people are big Kevin Cross fans, me included. Everyone I talk to, I hear
This
all
is
the time.
news to me. I always thought it was like one or two people.
All
But
right,
alright, awesome.
I'm gonna boost your ego here for a second. Yeah, a lot of people, all the guys I talk to, whether it be on Skype or on Facebook or whoever, lots of big Kevin Cross fans. So you must be doing something right.
Apparently.
Well, one thing I think a lot of people do like about you is you pretty much been, I mean, at least in COH, but you've been in call for quite a while.
I don't even know how long. I can try and look that up actually right now.
I mean, I even looked even earlier to see early just COH, and like back in 2011. That's like when COH started.
Yeah, no, I was definitely in on the ground floor for COH, and if that question doesn't come up, I would love to explain the beginnings of COH.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, from a an original COH original, if you will, standpoint. What was it like at the beginning? Because I wasn't there at the beginning, so
So I first want to say how I got into CAW, if that's all right
yeah,
first.
yes.
And it's all actually because of Travis, and it's all in all like honesty, like not making things up. It's all because of ROH. My brother was the biggest RO, like he was really into ROH, like back in its like pure heyday, like the CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Cesaro was still around there, things like that. And he took me to like my first live show since like I must have been like 7 or 8 when I went to like the Garden to go to a random WWE show. But we went to an ROH show in like Edison, New Jersey or some shit. I got a red old logo ROH shirt, wore that to school, and me and Travis actually went to the same school. I was knew a friend of his, and he's like, "Hey, you know wrestling? I know wrestling," and that's sort of how we started. And then he introduced me to CAW and YLOWA because I think Alex needed a man, and that's where I started. So I've been in CAW for probably around 7 years at this point, I think.
Wow, that's long. And I've been here for a long time too, but that's just long.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to see any like really awful, horrendous shit, try and find my early YLOWA things where I had no idea what the fuck was going on and had like no ounce of personality or anything in any of my promos.
How how was though YLWA? Because I've talked to a couple people about it. I've talked to Travis, I've talked to Alex and Steve, and a lot of people don't have the fondest things to say about YLWA. Specifically, David. They're not big fans.
I think for me with YLOWA, of course that was the Fed ran by Alex Enterprise.
Oh,
Um,
hold on.
you're thinking
That's
of the YTCW.
YTCW. Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't want to throw that shade your way. I love you, Alex.
Gotta
No.
check your facts, man.
Why did see everyone always talks about YTCW because everyone hates that show, but because that's how Travis got to COH. YLWA, from what I remember, I mean, besides young Alex, it was a very fun show to put it
It was
simply.
like I think I have such fond memories of it because it was literally the first show I was a part of. It's the first show. Like, granted, when I came in, I didn't have any like, and this is nothing against Alex at all. Like, he wanted a certain character filled, and I tried to make a character around that build. But like, he wanted if I remember right, he wanted an RVD Kane like tag team.
Hmm.
And then I came in as DVR Damian Victor Rodriguez, I think.
Oh my!
And I don't even remember what my like nickname was, but I remember my tagline was always like, "It's time for you to upgrade to DVR," because those things were being sold at the time because I was stupid. And I enjoyed it. Um, it was a fun time. I never really did too much in it, if I remember right, but overall, like, it was a fun show. I would love for Alex to bring it back nowadays, just because of how much certain people have evolved, including myself.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard Alex for the last couple years. He's kind of flirted with the idea of bringing it back, and we haven't seen that come to fruition yet. Because call takes a lot of time, but I think it would be interesting today with all the creative minds out there now.
I've honestly told him before, and if he's listening to this, if anybody decides to listen to this, I will say it again. I want this show to come back just because it was a blast to be a part of, and it was always like the matches were always fun to watch.
Now, one show that I remembered you in it was Steve's show, correct?
Yes.
SWA. How was that? How was, because we've seen the little reincarnation as of late, which we'll get to, but the early version of the show, it was different, but it certainly left its mark.
So when I came into the SWA, I feel like it was already fairly established. I liked a lot of what Steve was doing. I didn't know when I was in YLOWA, when I was watching Knox do his stuff, that he was Steve, that he had all these like different characters, that he had this entire show that he was doing. But when I came in, again, loved it. But again, it's if you find my early shit, I was probably one of the worst promo guys. I didn't really have a concept of a character. When I was in the beginning of SWA until like it might have been until the recent reboot, I wasn't Kevin Cross. I was Nick Gabriel. And Nick Gabriel honestly started out. I was the fucking biggest like awful ECW took over by the WWE woo 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 Zack Ryder fan,
Ooh.
because he had the like O Radio is by far one of the best theme songs. I feel like everybody can agree on that.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was trying to do like I don't even know if it was a party gimmick or just I was handsome, and then that evolved into a really not good anarchy character. But it was just again, my shit early CAW is awful, but the shows I was part of, I was always huge fans of, and I loved every aspect of it. I know this is going to probably not be viewed as too entertaining because I'm not talking shit, but that's just kind of how I was feeling at the time.
All right. Now, I remember way back when I interviewed Steve. In fact, that one was a video one, and we were talking about SWA, and he talked about when he put I think when he put the championship on you.
Yeah,
He made a comment suggesting that maybe you didn't I guess appreciate it or whatever. He didn't feel that. Was there any truth to that, or what? Why would he feel that was the case?
I could see why he feels like that, and if he ever did feel like that, that's totally on me, I guess. My problem with CAW, and I'm sure anybody who runs the show that I'm a part of can tell you, if I'm not specifically asked to do something, I most likely don't do that thing. And before, I really didn't have like certain excuses that I do have nowadays. With like this today, whenever we're recording this, I'm not sure if you want to date this or not, but today's a rare day off for me.
Hmm.
So I do have the opportunity to do something like this, or I do have the opportunity to bust out a promo, maybe. But like at the time, I was just lazy, and I could totally see why Steve might have felt that way, just because it's either I was lazy or I was just not putting out the quality that he believed I could do.
Right, and obviously, like everyone knows before anyone starts shit up. It's all water under the bridge. Steve, everything else he said was all nice things. Um, but obviously it was fine because later on when he did bring back SWA, I mean, you were given the
I
world
think
title.
I think I'm still technically the champion. I think I've held his main title since I won it at that one at like his his big show, his big WrestleMania S event. I just totally forgot what he was calling it.
Yeah, technically you would still be the champion. There hasn't been an
Yeah,
SWA show in quite a bit, and Steve has kind of put that off. I don't know if he'll ever go back to it, but if he does, you're still the champ.
that's very true. Until I lose it unceremoniously to I don't know who'd be a great person for me to lose to. Let's bring back Peter Gilmore.
Yeah, what a guy, Hall of Fame. Now, what did you think of the reincarnate SW? Because it was different. Steve did it different than from how other call shows. He did it more kind of like MMA based, like a fight night kind of way of doing shows.
I One of my favorite promos is actually from that, and it's not even a promo. It's more of just two people in character shitting on each other, and that was me and Scott doing our back and forth interview. Like I don't remember like the content of the thing. I don't even remember if it could be viewed as being entertaining or good, but I really enjoyed that like unique experience that like I have not seen anyone else do of this kind of in character interview with my opponent also technically in the quote unquote room.
Right. Yeah.
But it was fun, and I liked how I felt like that was a good way to get promos and get like matches hype without waiting on someone to do a video promo or waiting on audio promos.
It was really cool. I think a lot of the stuff that the Steve did was interesting. Like, there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with like certain things that you do, it restricts you in other areas. But
Yeah.
it was different. It stood out. So
It was it's probably one of the most unique ways to build any kind of hype for any match.
now, another one place where it almost seems like anytime that you're there, something big is going to happen. But it's no fault of your own. Obviously, there's a million things that can go wrong with CWS, WCW, whatever 3 letters. Nate has.
I love CWS. I gotta break you off right now. I love everything about CWS.
CWS was fun, especially in that original like run of it that I was part of, obviously.
Right.
That was fun. A lot of the characters were really good, and I think a lot of the characters we get to see from where they started there to where they are now is pretty cool.
Right. But as you were saying about CWS though, and me being there and seeing like big things are going to happen, I honestly, it's something I've always been like wondering, and something I don't think I'll ever comprehend. But for whatever reason, Nate the Great, let's call him what he is. He's Nate the Great. By far, probably one of the biggest Kevin Cross fans, and I have again no idea, no understanding of it because he's Nate the Great. He was part of one of my favorite tag teams in early COH, the Vicious Bullies. Like that always blew my mind, and again, I can not even wrap my like head around it.
Yeah, he's always been a big fan, of Kevin Cross. One more fan for you.
That's the one I knew.
and like I said, like every time it's like whether it be a hype video or I think at one point you were on like the light heavyweight division, and then there was like it was just every time something was going to happen, but one thing or another didn't happen. Do you think that CWS, because I think that's what he's still calling it now, do you think there's any chance of it coming back, or do you think it's reached his resting place?
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm obviously the worst interview partner.
No, that's fine. You're fine. Believe me.
I truly hope it's not at its resting point. Like the way I see it, Nate kind of puts out shows when he feels like putting out shows, and I'm hoping like obviously that I feel like there's definitely more shows in the future. I feel like it hasn't hit a point to say that it's over.
Okay.
I don't feel like it's reached that sort of a climax. I feel like if Nate were to go that route, he would have some kind of storyline or something to essentially have a proper ending. So I think it's still going to go. I think he's just kind of waiting for inspiration to hit him. I have the same problem in CAW of like if I'm not inspired, I sort of just kind of fade and let people do whatever they want with me because I'm not going to be upset if I lose or win. Because for me this is just a really fun way to express ourselves, but at the same time, it's like I said, sometimes you just kind of lack that spark and that's just kind of how things work out.
Okay. All right. Um, so hopefully we see something from Nate. I mean, if he wants to, great. Would love to see a proper ending if that's what he, or if he wants to keep going. I mean, hell, keep
Yeah,
on
just
going,
bust out
partner.
more episodes.
Yeah. Um, Now let's go all the way back to the beginnings of COH, like we kind of touched upon earlier.
Right.
You came in as Kevin Crisis.
Yes.
Now, just so I'm correct here, was the Cross character, was that something that was either before or after? What came first, Cross or Crisis? Because I know you were Crisis in COH first, obviously.
Yeah. So, Crisis, hands down, was the beginning. Crisis into Cross. This evolution of a character is by far like one of my favorite things I've done. Um, and it's funny because for like those of you who don't know, and I hope Travis doesn't get pissed off at me for saying this. I'm not sure if he may have said this in one of his interviews, but initially Travis was slated to take over the YTCW.
Really?
Yes, because here's the thing, right? If I know it's impossible to find those clips anymore, those like episodes, but again, when Travis got me into CAW, eventually he informed me he was going to do that, and from there, that's where we started figuring out, okay, how can I work myself into the show? And from there, if anybody has seen these episodes or not, I'll explain what they were. I essentially had a Jericho esque like save us 222 or whatever, like those kind of promos where it was always a robotic voice. I would do a high pitched one and a low pitched one. I would overlay them, and I would always be like the same thing of like the future is coming, the future is unstoppable, like things like that. And it was just a like royalty free like motion graphic, and that those phrases over and over again with like the future in white text overlaid it. And that's where like the whole future thing came from, and that character initially was going to be Kevin Crisis, and he was going to be in the YTCW, excuse me. But then when, for whatever reason, all of that fell through, Travis made COH, and I brought this initial idea over there.
Okay.
So Crisis in
Hold on.
Crisis, but yeah, so Kevin Crisis definitely was and is still the origin of Kevin Cross, and looking back on it, even in VCW, like origin of VCW, Scott Adams, former Fed, if or current Fed, if he ever does anything with it, who knows? When that began, I was Eddie Sage, and that's actually where the sadistic savior moniker came from. If people saw my end time stuff, they would understand. I think Travis would every once in a while call me that. So that's kind of Eddie Sage became Kevin Crisis, which has evolved into Kevin Cross.
Okay. Now, the Kevin Crisis character was very very cool, and it was a little bit different from people who just know you as Kevin Cross. Um, but it was very noticeable for you going on to winning the Honor Rumble
Right.
and then winning the World Title. Now,
Right.
we'll get into it in a few moments why that's noticeable. But the Honor Rumble, you know, before did you know beforehand what did you have in mind? Was there a different plan from there? What was up?
So we're talking the second on Rumble, the one
Yes.
I won.
Yeah, the one
All
you
right,
won.
because the first one, that's where I debuted End Time. That's where things started out okay. Um, so the second Honor Rumble, I can't even like honestly remember what the plan was back then. Um, I always like those early years of COH, right? That was before I viewed this as more of a fun thing. That was before I viewed this as that's when I wanted to be noticed and I wanted to be appreciated and things like that. And I had known Trav so long and I had been a part of COH for this long or whatever, and I just sort of felt like it was my time, and I think that kind of is why that sort of that arc happened. The win of the Honor Rumble, which ultimately led to the destruction of End Time, which was a very interesting arc. But it did lead to that very noticeable thing that I feel like you want to get into.
Yeah. I mean, you won, and from I remember, a lot of people were liked it, and they're like, "Oh, cool, Kevin won." The, unfortunately, I think the biggest problem was, and maybe you have a different look at it.
We'll see.
When you were getting pushed towards the title was at the moment of the rise between both Goonie and the Alex Enterprise. So their rise, it's like it casted you in the middle. It was like, to me, John Cena versus The Miz at WrestleMania 27. The Miz was in the main event. He was the champion. But the talk was about John Cena and The Rock.
Right.
And you kind of unfortunately got stuck in that role. So as of that result, you just kind of didn't look like the world champion. Do you see it that way, or do you see it completely different?
Okay, so I definitely agree with you. In fact, I think I've said it in my promos, and let's be honest here. I am, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst COH World Champion. That's just how it is. I think the problem is in that fact that you mentioned. At the time, Goonie was hot. At the time, the Alex Enterprise was out there doing his promos, which was a lot of shouting, if I'm being honest. Apparently, volume makes you a better promo person. That's no shade on Alex or anything like that. That's just a joke. I truly appreciate Alex's skill, and I've said that he's probably one of the best promo people around. But no, it's just like that's when he was hot, and that's when like people were just starting to notice him. And that's when people were getting behind him because he was legitimately doing good work, and Goonie was the Goonie. And I think the main issue was, for whatever reason, Travis wasn't necessarily agreeing with certain ideas that I had. And I also had a problem with the whole like Goonie doing the CM Punk S thing, because that was like kind of the hot thing at the moment of like him leaving with the original title. Like I had no problem with him doing that. I just if I would have excuse me, I would have had no problem with that happening if that was the main idea before the whole John Cena CM Punk stuff. But I feel like that was kind of the inspiration for that moment. But it was just a matter of I don't think Travis was feeling any of my ideas, and I think he realized that he had somebody that was like white hot at the moment, and he needed to jump on it. And I don't blame him for doing that, and I get it. It's just I definitely wish it had gone a different route, and there's nothing really else I can say or try and do to justify why my time as champion was so shitty, and I was just kind of a transitional champion. But I mean, I'm not gonna kind of be upset about it because it is what it is, you know.
Right. It is what it is, and it's really it's to no harm because like you said, like those guys were just hot, and Travis jumped on that like anyone else would have, and
I
and unfortunately you got the
to
choice.
interrupt just for a second. Sorry. I feel like it's worth noting whenever I do join a Fed, I always tell people like yourself or Andrew or Levi or whoever, like, use me how you want to use me. I'm not going to be upset about what you want to do. I trust your guys' judgment. And like that's why I probably am not as upset about it as people might see or like might have thought I was.
That's very big of you. I say that because it's CAW, and you know this is true because you've seen it. We've all seen it. Some
Oh yeah.
people, that's the end of the world, and they go out and they rage and they go and they some maybe they leave, maybe they get angry and say something. I don't know, but for you to recognize that, I guess that's a quality that you have that unfortunately other people don't.
I mean, like in all honesty, like I could never understand that mentality because in my mind, you guys are the ones. Like, let's be honest. Again, everybody that I listed before, including yourself, you guys all have your shows, and you guys are taking your time out. You guys are taking time from your schedule that you could be doing other things, and you decided you're gonna make a show and you're gonna run it the way you want to run it. And like, I don't see how people could feel like, no, it should be my way, and I should be the main title. I should have the main title. I should have the tag titles. I should have the mid card title. Like I never could get my like understand that kind of mentality.
Hmm.
And honestly, like it's like you said, people storm off, and that's just. I feel like people kind of need to have a little bit more of a maturity about it because it's a fun thing to do. Like we're not doing this. It's like everybody has said before. No one's being paid. No one is getting anything out of this other than just their being creative, getting something out to view. But again, no money's going around, so what's the point? What's the point of being upset over booking when it's just someone's telling their story?
All right. Now, hindsight being 2020, right? So,
Right?
looking back, like obviously you see that now and you're like, all right, those guys were hot. Travis did what he had to do. Do you think now looking back with what Travis was, the cards he was dealt with, was there a better way to do it? Whereas he had the whole, I mean, Goonie thought he won because the ref was down, and I mean you tapped. So, and I think
Right.
in a way that kind of, to no fault of Travis, but in a way it kind of made you as the champion look weak because you did tap, and
Right.
but then you went over and then you beat Goonie when the ref saw it, and then how with Goonie gone, do you think there was a better way that Travis and I'm not just saying Travis, but anyone in that position could have done it, or do you think that was the best that could have happened with the cards he was dealt with?
I think there definitely was a better way to go about booking that kind of moment. Because here's the weird thing, and like it's something that I'll say in character. I think I said it in character as well. I have no idea who rang the bell. I have no idea who started Goonies music. And like in a false finish kind of situation like that, like we look at any other show or promotion, like any actual promotion, like the WWE, ROH, TNA, anything like that happens, there's someone behind. There's like we see the person who screws the like face champion in that situation. It's either like someone that is partnered with the villain, or it's like management going against that hero. But in COH, we never really had a reason for that. Like my time from Royal Rumble 2, Honor Rumble 2, excuse me, to the main events was Kevin Crisis wins the Honor Rumble. The end time is being fairly successful in like the tag title situation and things like that. The end time starts falling apart because Kevin Crisis is insane and starts thinking things are going wrong and starts thinking that people aren't putting in their effort. Kevin Crisis demolishes his own project. So at the point of the Honor Rumble, at the match between Kevin Crisis and the Goonie, Crisis has no allies. Crisis has no friends. So there's no one to help Crisis out, and there's no one that wanted, like, there was nobody else against the Goonie. So I guess what could have happened, maybe to build it better or have that moment make more sense, is either have had Alex like take credit for it, have anybody take credit for it, and build some sort of faction out of it. And I would have been fine with that. But it's such a weird moment if anybody looks back on it because there's a lot of parts that just don't fall into place.
Okay.
Specifically for that moment, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Maybe like some like plot holes to the story. You know that.
Like, I feel like it's a major plot hole to have in your world title match of like, to this day in COH's history, no one has claimed credit, and they're like, no one ever brought it up, no one ever thought about it, no one ever like asked why. And like I even said in my like post-winning promos, like I didn't ring the bell, I didn't play the music, I don't know who did. But it's just nothing ever came from it.
So maybe the story would have been better if at some point down the road someone came forward and said that they did that, and there was a story that evolved from that.
it I would have appreciated more. I also would have appreciated being booked as a stronger champion, but I guess we can't have our way at all points.
Now, when you were the champion, I mean, because Goonie, he was there, but the big thing of this story was that he was going being CM Punk, or what we thought he was going to do.
Right, he was defending in other places and things like that.
Yeah, so he wasn't, besides the clips that would be shown, he wasn't actively on the show. Like Alex was there, obviously, but you were still the champion. What did you think of that booking? Is that another one where it's just it is what it is, or is that different? Because I mean, it just didn't feel right from a viewer standpoint.
So I had no problem with Goonie doing the thing that he did. I have no problem with like it being booked that way from Goonie's part. And I honestly don't remember what was going on with Alex other than like his rise to earning his title shot. But my problem with it was, again, nothing on their sides because it made sense. Goonie has a title that he believes is his, and if he can't hold it in COH, he's going to go defend it in other shows. That's fine. That's character. Alex is being Alex. That's fine. That's character. But me, like, I was just kind of booked so poorly, and like, I understand that I was the transitional champion, but I felt like there were things that could have happened, and I could have been used as a stronger competitor during my time than I was. Like, I wanted an idea of something like, so I have the title, the other guy's gone, I'm fine, I view no one as being at my level. In fact, my main like tagline that I was pushing at that point in any of my promos as COH champion is make me care. And I wanted to put it on other people to essentially show me that they're a threat, show me that they're worth this title shot, show me that they are worth holding this gold and they're more worth it than me. And I also wanted to push this idea of like, and it's an interesting idea, I feel like I haven't seen it all too much, of a putting management in a face perspective, having them be the good guys and having your champion kind of spit on their legacy. That's why on the first post winning, like that first post Ultimate Glory match or whatever, I called Travis to the ring and hurt him and did the my Cosmic Lariat or the Cosmic Rainmaker, whatever you want to call it. I did that with hopes of something coming from it, and just nothing ever did. And I think that was the main problem with the entire booking. It wasn't anything with Goonie's character, it wasn't anything with Alex's character, it was just how I was being used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Man, Travis.
It's nothing on Travis's fault too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I cannot make this more clear. Travis is by far like one of my best like wrestling friends, and like I could never be mad at him for any of his booking decisions. But like, I don't know. I just wish it was different. I don't blame him for it. I get it, but at the same time, like, I just wish it was slightly different.
Now, from there, with what happened with the title, and then it led to the triple threat, which, I mean, you were the champion, but it was essentially Goonie versus Alex, and then there's that guy with the title.
Yep. No, can I break down that match real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was a triple threat. I think it was elimination, and the way Travis shot it or had it be made was at some point I forget the reason why, but Goonie is taken off, like he's busy or whatever. So I think the worst part about this, for like me looking back on it, that match specifically, it came down to a moment where it's you guys do your things cut, so it's me and Alex, right? Let's be real. It's me and Alex. Goonie's nowhere around, and I'm the first one pinned in this situation too. So not only was I booked super weakly, but I end on like this super weak moment of I'm not even in the final moments of that match. I'm just kind of brushed to the side. Like, okay, we acknowledge that this happened, but it didn't really happen. Like, you weren't the important thing here. We had our 2 stars. You were just you were in the way, so let's get rid of you real quick and let's continue with the main event. So, like, that's how that match was booked, and that kind of sucked.
Didn't he like you on a battleground like before the CPV? I can recall. I think you faced Goonie or something, and I think you lost.
I mean, probably.
And I remember like,
let's be honest, that probably happened. Yeah.
Yeah, because with all the like comparisons to what Goonie did was Punk. Well, Punk came back and fought Cena, and that was the big thing. But this was you came back. He came back.
This was more like this was more like Punk and Cena and Alberto Del Rio in all aspects.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So that happened, and then one thing that I know that others that I've talked to about, here to break kayfabe right now, Ryan Carroll and me have talked about, we still hate each other though. He talked about how, because around that same time when you were champion, AWF and COH did the Super Show, and me and Travis, we booked a show, and we tried to make it fair, like everyone tries to do with their Super Show. Okay, you get some wins, we get some wins, and obviously, but when it came to the booking, like there were certain people that were protected on both ends, and I remember we did for my show, like my champion at the time fought you when you were the champion, and you lost the match. Like there was no you just lost.
I think I gained the most amount of losses in my entire CAW career during my stint as COH champion.
It's like when someone gives it, when WWE gives someone the Money in the Bank, they just have to lose.
Like, I don't even know how to, what else we can really say about this entire, like, line of the entire, like, failure of Kevin Crisis as a COH champion. Like, I can try and explain it in character of, Crisis was an insane asshole. He called himself the new god. He just thought he was hotter than he was, and this was his sobering experience. The best thing to come out of it is me evolving the character.
Yes, because from there you I don't know if that was the direct catalyst to it, but from there you went direct to Kevin Cross.
Yeah. In fact, for people who may not realize this, people who may not have seen it, once after that triple threat match, I put out the promo. I don't know if I put it specifically on the page or if it was on the page in the show, if it was just for a show, but I put out the very simple promo. It was me standing, and I said the very couple lines of, for everything I've done, for everything I've said, for everybody that I've hurt, I'm sorry. And it was under like the hashtag God is dead. And that was a like complete like that was me doing my first like, at the time I was the biggest Prince Devitt fan. That's exactly when I started getting into New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And when Devitt lost his match at their Wrestle Kingdom, he put out the tweet, Prince is dead. So that was like me emulating one of like, at the time, one of my favorite guys, because he was hot and like very few people were on top of him at that moment.
Okay. I remember that was very creative, and then started the whole Kevin Cross. Now, because this is this is related to it. There's a question I was submit. The world greatest everything.
Yes,
that's your nickname.
I was really hoping I would be able to talk about this too. So, a lot of let's be honest, a lot of us, we are inspired, and some of us blatantly take things, right? I'm not going to name names because it's not who I am, but like, there's a fine line between inspiration and copying.
Hmm.
The World's Greatest Everything actually is semi-inspired by Johnny Gargano, and then I took it from of all things, the original Nutty Professor movie. Now let me explain. Johnny Gargano took the knees bees, the cat's pajamas, the like a couple things, and that's all. Those are all lines in the Nutty Professor, leading to the main character when he's in his like cool form being announced as the world's greatest everything. And the fact that he hadn't taken that thing, and the fact that I hadn't seen anybody using it, I'm like, well, this is who I'll be. This is who this character will become. So that's where the actual origins of the World's Greatest Everything is. It's fucking the Nutty Professor, the original like Jerry Lewis or whatever the fuck his name is, Nutty Professor movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll go into my other nicknames too, like because they're all semi-inspired by different things, or they
That,
just sounded cool. Let's be honest. Like Future, I saw no one doing the Future thing, so I'm like, okay, I'll be the Future. Sadistic Savior, I saw him, I just sounded good, so I was like, fuck it, I'll be that. Um, the New God, which by far was one of my favorite ones, was actually, and I said this on like when I had the Ask page when like Ask.fm was really big. The Future, the New God thing was, I'm a really big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. He's the man who made Cosmic Horror. He's the man who a lot of people may know made Cthulhu, that squid-faced giant green thing. In his works, he had the idea of old gods, which were just space monster alien dudes. And I'm like, well, he made the old god, so I'll be the new god. And I think that covers most of the things. New Man was just the evolution of the new god that was showing that I had become humbled. And that's everything on the cross aspect. The world's most wonderful man is just that fits the character.
yeah. Uh, wow. Now, the goal with Kevin Cross, because it was the evolution to the from Kevin Crisis to Kevin Cross. Did you have something in mind after all that happened when you were world champion to go from? Or was there? I mean, obviously it stops with Travis. It's what Travis wants to do.
Right.
But did you have something in mind that you wanted to do? Was it always to go on the face like Phoenix, like you did at Ultimate Glory, or what?
So the Phoenix match, I really enjoyed the build for that, but like that wasn't my goal coming back as Kevin Cross. I think my goal still as Kevin Cross in COH is to redeem that god awful title reign, to just have one more chance, one more opportunity to kind of fix this awful, awful thing. And I feel like as a character, Kevin Cross won't really feel like he's accomplished what he needs to accomplish until he kind of rights that last wrong.
Hmm.
But things like the Phoenix stuff was just sort of like, here's this idea that we want you to do or we would like to happen. And I'm like, all right, this sounds cool. I can make this work. This makes sense in a character aspect. So let's run with it.
That was a very interesting feud, especially for both of you guys, because in a way, he had his own evolution from Atticus Marks to Canyon Phoenix. So you guys were both, I mean, coming off of your evolution from your previous characters, and
Yeah,
then
it was. Sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna fucking do that a lot, apparently. I will say with a shadow of a doubt, and again, this is nothing on Adam. This is nothing against him. I hated the Atticus Marks entire thing, the entire gimmick, because it was too close to Bray. It was
hmm
there wasn't any substance other than here's me doing my thing with Bray, here's me doing this. And there were like such little moments and such subtleties to like Bray's character at the time that I feel like nobody caught on. And if he had done things differently, if he had like, I'll be honest, I wish he had put more of himself into it as opposed to just kind of being here's COH's Bray Wyatt, here's COH doing the Bray Wyatt family, Daniel Bryan storyline. Like I just hated it.
well, that's understandable. I mean, everyone, it's weird. Everyone always has like either a love hate relationship with that gimmick.
Yeah.
Like like I remember, I think Alex was a big fan of it, and I think Goonie liked it. But then some people don't like it because it's what you said it is Bray Wyatt, because Adam just took, because when he did it, like Bray was in NXT, I think. So
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? I mentioned subtlety. It's like my favorite Bray Wyatt promo is one with before NXT was NXT. It was in that weird transition of FCW and NXT, right? Jason Jordan of all people was in the ring, and Bray came back from an injury, and he's pacing the stage and he's speaking Latin and he's doing this Bray shit, right? And then there's a moment, and it's the greatest fucking moment. It's the greatest subtlety to character. Like when it comes to COH, not COH, CAW, and just wrestling in general, I love characters. My favorite people are people that have good characters, or people that I can understand their character. Bray had this amazing subtlety where he took off his hat and he started doing his normal husky Harris voice. He started speaking like a normal being. He didn't have the weird inflection that he has as Bray. He was just a normal man at that moment. And I liked this idea of this like man who's kind of being possessed, and that was like the subtlety of that character that I fucking loved. And like it's something I don't see people do. It's something that like I see people overlooking about Bray's character at the time. He had such small nuances that made him such a good character. And it was just missed out by everybody else who was trying it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even like my attempt at a Crisis towards the end was a weird amalgam of Jimmy Jacobs, a la the Age of the Fall, obviously, and Bray Wyatt.
Oh, wow. I didn't know Bray Wyatt did that, because I obviously watched NXT, but I didn't watch back then, and that's pretty cool. If
He did it once in like a SmackDown promo, and I was like, "Holy shit, he did it again!" And that's great. But like, it's such a small detail, and also makes him seem like he's being like possessed by a hat, which doesn't work for the character. But I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. I'm actually gonna look at that later. But yeah, that's cool. But Phoenix, he took a lot of inspiration from that Bray Wyatt character, maybe along the lines of straight up just copying it. And he's said that since then. So it's.
Can I just interrupt for one quick second?
Go ahead.
Because I feel like this might come up a lot with how I feel about CAW. If I mention that someone's character is a blatant copy of something, I'm not a fan of your character. That's fine, but I still appreciate the work they can do. I still appreciate the quality they can do in promos, because a lot of times we have a lot of people who are good at promos. I'm just not enthralled by the character, because I view it as, oh, you're this person. Why don't I watch that person's matches right now instead, though? Why am I not watching their promos instead? Well, what are you doing different than this character? And if there isn't enough there, I'm just not going to be in love with the character.
Understandable. One thing I was thinking while you were talking, from the Crisis to Cross, and how since then, I said at the beginning, you got a lot of fans, a lot that you don't know about apparently.
Apparently,
I think a big part of that actually was, I was like, indirectly, your reign as champion, because I think back to, there's so many people like in pro wrestling who come up from, say, like the independent scene. They go to WWE, and they don't get treated too well. And like Daniel Bryan was world champion, lost in 18 seconds at WrestleMania.
Yep.
But ever since then, everyone has loved Daniel Bryan to this very day, and he got massively over. So I think maybe while people during that time were into Alex and Goonie, still are today, but were very into them then, I think people then afterwards took a step back and thought, "Whoa, this guy kind of didn't get
his due."
Yeah." So then everyone's like, "You know what? I want to see him get back there." And ever since then, everyone's just like, "I like Kevin Cross," and I think that's why, even to all the way to now, everyone is still behind. Just like every guy who goes to WWE who gets like an indie wrestler, no matter what, they just stick to them.
Right.
So I think that could be it. I think that it has to be at least added to it why because I can see people sympathizing with that.
Right, and like I feel like it's worth noting, I'm not trying to be a one man pity party here. I'm not trying to say like I suck and I'm hoping I'm like fishing for compliments or anything like that. No, it's like legitimately though. I see people in COH, I see people in different places, and I'm like, man, they're so good. I really enjoy them, and I don't view my like. It's not me not viewing myself as the same like quality of thing or whatever. It's just like I'm like, man, everybody must love these people, and just not thinking that for myself. I don't know. It's a really weird thing when like I think like Kevin Cross, Kevin or Kevin Wonderman even has people that enjoy seeing me do those characters. Like it's just weird to me to think like that. I don't know. It's strange. It's
See
strange when you mention like fans and
it.
things.
It's odd. I get. I mean, some people. I guess it all depends on the type of person you are. Like some
Right?
people, like they just like they love and thrive in it. Even though, and so much so that we see how it overcomes people's egos, and it's like, hey, dude, it's call. Um,
Right.
but and then for others, where like it's not it hasn't been that thing where they was like, oh, they, that you don't recognize that, because I've seen it all the time. Like I look Goonie, like Goonie, like one of the nicest guys ever,
Right.
and I think he looks at the same. Like he knows people like him, but he doesn't think he's as good as everyone says he is.
Can I actually tell a Goonie story that may or may not be wrong if I'm misremembering this?
Yeah, go ahead.
After my God is Dead promo, I'm like 99% sure Goonie sent me a message on Facebook asking if I was okay.
No way.
I'm like I'm pretty confident in that Goonie message. I could be wrong. I could be totally lying here, and if I am, I'm very sorry to the Goonie, obviously. But I want to say like, yeah, I get a message and it's is everything okay or you all right, man? And I'm like, oh, like I tell him the deal, like, oh no, I'm just using this as a little break, and then I'll come back and everything's good or whatever. And he's like, all right, just wanted to make sure. It was like one of the most genuine, nicest things like to happen in CAW of just someone actually caring.
That's just Goonie. And if even if it's, I can see him doing it. Whether he did or not, I just see,
Or just
because
see if I can actually find it, see if I'm right.
like Goonie is just, he's one of the most like down to earth people, and that's cool. That's cool. He did that. You know, wow. Goonie getting some praise here, man. But
I see. I'm legitimately trying to see if I can find this now.
it's gonna be a far search, isn't it? Of a couple years ago.
Let's see here. But anything. Sorry, I totally got sidetracked there.
Nah, that's fine. That's cool though. I mean, it's while you're searching for that, and if you find it, and you go right ahead.
All right. So it wasn't him saying if I was okay. It was him genuinely concerned if I was leaving COH.
Okay, we're still going to give him points,
Yeah.
because that's still Karen. I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
else said that, so you know that's still Goonie being cool.
Yep.
Uh, Now you kind of mentioned it a little bit, because we're going to take a little break here from Cross. We talk about Kevin Wonderman. It's a completely
Yes.
different gimmick. We've seen it in a couple places. Some it gets a little bit of a start. Now it's in PCW. And how did that come about? And by the way, that's a great character.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the Kevin Wonderman, like, we can get into this a little bit with Cross and Crisis later, and like I got into it a little bit. When I make characters, I try and think of who do I really enjoy, like whose work am I a big fan of, what are they doing, how can I put my spin on it. So where Kevin Crisis was Jimmy Jacob, Bray Wyatt, a little bit of like other dark characters and things like that. Um, Kevin Wonderman is like my attempt to weirdly mash up people like for people that watched Chikara or like watched Chikara like a few years ago, or even ROH. Like I took R.D. Evans, Archibald Peck, combine that with like Simon Dean and like Bobby Fish, and that's sort of the amalgam that became Kevin Wonderman.
Okay. Now, was the first show that you did, was it FSW? Was it one of Cash's shows, or was there a show before that you used the character?
So Kevin Wonderman, the first inkling of Kevin Wonderman was in VCW when I was doing commentary work.
Okay.
And the idea, like at the time before, like trying to emulate these different like wrestlers, was me trying to do kind of like a Ron Burgundy approach to commentary of all things. So I would say things. I think one of the things, like, it was a Raging Redneck match, and he launches himself over the top rope. So I said something along the lines of like soaring like a beautiful American bald eagle or something like that. Or I would say like weird things like by the bearded face of Odin, I can't believe what I've just witnessed. Things like that.
Oh, okay. I forgot you were on commentary there for VCW.
Yeah, I think no one else was doing it, and Scott was like, "Do this for me." I'm like, all right.
Did you enjoy it? I mean, you had a unique character to work with, but did you enjoy doing like I do commentary for a ton of shows.
A bunch of places, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even list them.
Uh, some people like to do it. Some people, if you ask them, a lot of people just aren't interested because you got to talk for a long time.
I love doing commentary. It's I legitimately do enjoy doing commentary. It's fun. It's fun for me. I like being able, like, if I'm in the Wonderman character, I like being able to say weird things. If I'm in Cross or Crisis, I like either appreciating the work in front of me or totally shitting on people. Or if I'm just doing normal commentary, I like being able to say, like, to try and help tell this story. So I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it's like a good way to be a part of a show without like wanting to get everything, like to be a part, like to be a member of the roster or whatever. Like, I don't know. I find it to be really enjoyable. I find it to be kind of therapeutic almost. Like, I don't know. I enjoy it. It's a long way of saying I enjoy doing commentary. Commentary is fun. I would appreciate being brought on to commentary if people are looking for commentary. Now, I'm not going to pitch myself like that. No, it's a fun time.
But just curious, is that something that in the future, if someone asked you, like, if Travis was like, "Hey, Kevin, want to do commentary?" Would you today in like 2017? Would that be something you'd want to do, or would that be something that you don't think you could do? What do you think?
It would be definitely something I would want to do. It would be something that I would hopefully be able to work out with a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I was, now granted I'm still in like a part-time retail job, but like right now I'm closing most days and I don't have really too much free time. I had 2 days, I have 2 days off this week, this being one, and it would just like be hoping I could work it out with my own schedule. But it would definitely be something where if someone's like, "Hey, would you want to be part of this commentary team or whatever?" I would definitely give it a shot. At least like give like one honest opportunity, and if it's received well, sure, I'll try to stay on board. I'll try and work it out with my schedule as much as I can. But if like people aren't generally enjoying how I do commentary, then I would let the person do whatever they felt was best.
Okay. All right. Now, El Immigrante. Explain that, because we've only got to see a little bit of that. We haven't got to see much of that because everyone was in love with that, but unfortunately the show never came out to be what it was going to be.
Yeah. Oh man, El Immigrante was for I guess I should unmask him. I live in the same city as El Immigrante. I moved to that city a while back, and it was just, "Hey, I know you, you know me, we're buddies, we're both kind of funny. You're a funny person, I'm a somewhat funny person. Let's try and do something fun." And that's kind of how that started. You know, granted, El Immigrante obviously was imported from Mexico, as we've established in his history and his character. But yeah, he's just I can't even describe Alan McGrante. He's just a fun man.
Wouldn't it like right now be so appropriate? It'd be the perfect time with everything that's going on in the real world for that character. Oh
I
man.
mean, I think he's in. I could be wrong. I feel bad if I say the wrong thing for certain people, but I want to say Ellen McGrante is technically in the ICW.
Okay.
I think he's in Levi's Fed right now.
Well, hopefully he stays there and he doesn't get deported.
Hopefully, I think we had some sketchy things bring him over, but it was cool because of the time. But now with what's going on now, he very well might be deported. We should probably watch out.
There might be a wall. I mean, how's he gonna get?
Yeah, there could be a giant wall specifically around Ellen McGrante. He is stealing jobs from Americans.
Yes, yes. We'll see what happens there though. Now with Wonderman, now he's in PCW, and you're teaming with Steve, who's playing Mo Houston.
Yes.
Wonderful motivation.
Wonderful motivation. The Motivation Nation.
How's that? And also, I mean, and how's getting the team with Steve? Because I mean, you guys have been around the block for years, and now you get into work and do something like more fun, more comedy.
Steve is. I feel like Steve has this weird like love him or hate him kind of like thing going on about him, and I like far I enjoy him. I think he's a good dude. I think a lot of people who I talk with in like that I've met through CAW are good people. They're all you guys are all really cool people, and for the most part, the people who I speak to are very grounded, very understanding. Like, granted, they want their storylines told their way, but at the same time, I feel like they're cool taking a loss. But being able to work with Steve in a promotion that I actually like am enjoying, and I enjoy where we're going. It's fun. Like it's a fun time. We're both two very out there characters, so I feel like it only made sense for us to kind of like be formed into this tag team, and being able to be these two. We're trying to motivate you to be better, but we're also telling you your shit characters. But this isn't the first time I've teamed with Steve. Yeah, I think that's worth noting.
Oh, when back? How far back was that?
I don't remember how far back, but of course, in the YWF, I was with Steve and Travis as a part of the Resistance.
See, I didn't even know you were in YWF.
I was in YWF. My time in YWF is very strange. I feel like that's a lot of my CAW. Yeah, I feel like that's a majority of my CAW career. But in YWF, I think initially, and I could be again. I'm just going to keep on reiterating. I could be wrong, and I was initially supposed to be brought on as a partner for Travis. Something else happened though, but they still wanted me to come in, so I came in as a Kevin Brando, the underdog. And that character was mainly developed from I saw all of the like live promos on the YWF page that were just like this person promo, and I saw that everybody kind of had that like I'm the best around mentality. And I was like, fuck it, let me do this, like, let me do the total opposite. Let me do a character who's very humble, who acknowledges his failures, and let's see where that goes. And then eventually the whole Resistance thing actually happened, and then I tagged with Steve as Travis was doing a singles thing. And then I can explain how I left the YWF, and I can explain why I don't have fond memories of the YWF because of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because YWF got a lot of great guys who were there, a lot of great guys.
And again, I just want to say YWF is a well-produced show. I enjoy obviously Chronic's work. I enjoy what the quality Marco was able to accomplish. But yeah, there were some issues there.
Yeah, there were some issues. Like I said, like a lot of good guys, but there's always a but. There, some people, and some of them have been on the show. Don't have a lot some nice thing to say based off of maybe the way they were booked or their departure from the show. How was that experience, and how is how do you look at that?
Looking back on it, like I was fine with the booking for the most part. I think at some point maybe something was booked in a way where I wasn't very happy with it. But when I wanted to leave, this is also when there was that weird mass exodus from YWF, where all of like a lot of the like YWF names that were names there were just like quitting abruptly.
Hmm.
And me and Steve were tag champs, and what I had told Marco was, hey, I'm not liking where I'm going, or I'm just not enjoying it as much as I feel like I should be, or whatever, and I would like to leave, but also I don't want to do the same thing as everybody else. I want to leave you out without like having a reason or whatever. And I proposed storyline. I thought it would have been a great storyline, but he just abruptly, like, once me and Steve lost the titles, as far as I remember, as far as I know, because I don't really remember that post show at all. I just kind of am gone. Like, I'm not even, like, it's not acknowledged, or if it is acknowledged, it's just kind of written off very fast. But, like, initially what I had told him was, what if we do this storyline where we lose the titles, they blame me, they gang up on me, and then, like, after a beatdown, I'm kicked out, and that's the end of Kevin Brando. That would make sense.
Hmm.
And instead, I'm just kind of gone. And, like, I think that's why I don't... Like, I think that's specifically where my not fond memories of being a part of YWF is. And I guess that's all I really want to say. I can say or elaborate on that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Now let's go to some questions here from the Facebook.
Oh, shit.
Now, one, this is going to be very interesting because I think he's going to be disappointed by the answer. But how is the world's greatest everything greater than the likes of the Great One, TGO, or the Great D? All these other great people.
There's only one person who is as great as me, and it's Nate the Great. Let's be honest here. The world's greatest everything is the greatest everything because for the fact that I'm Kevin Cross. Let's be honest here. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna. I don't even know where else I can go with that. Like, the world's greatest everything is literally the world's greatest everything. You put me in any competition you want, and the world's greatest everything will exceed at it. I'm the world's greatest speaker. I'm the world's best looking man, and I have the world's smartest brain. I'm just simply put the world's greatest everything. I can outsmart, outmatch, and out-talk anybody I'm put up against, and that's how I'm better than the likes of the Great D or who else did he put down?
TGO.
I don't even know who TGO is. How great could he be if I don't know him?
Now, this is something. I mean, it's a character, but
yeah, that was obviously just a promo.
But right, but because I'm just curious, like, for someone that does a character that's the world's greatest everything, anything from Humble, and it obviously thinks
yeah, it's this weird mix.
But you yourself, like the person, not that at all.
Oh yeah. No, it's just like, so I don't even remember how I started coming up with like I'm going to be like I want to have a fun way of doing like an arrogant kind of behavior. I want to be like full of myself without like going too far. And it was just a matter of like me fucking around on that that site where we were all getting questions, that ask.fm site where I would start answering like the daily like generated questions very egotistically. And I'm like, man, this is really fun. This is a fun gimmick. I can see why there's so many characters like this because it's fun to just kind of take this mentality and run with it. So I think that's like where like truly comes from is just like me fucking around on some random ass website.
Okay. Hey, we hear it all the time though in pro wrestling. Whenever someone does a character, everyone's always like, "Oh, that's far from who they are, though." I mean, so it takes it's a character, and it's great that you can pull that off. Now, one thing that you did in COH very briefly, it looked like it was going to be a more long term thing, but for obvious reasons, it kind of stopped. Was Future Flight.
Oh shit, yeah, well, I did do Future Flight.
You and Morris, you guys teamed up, and it was really cool. You guys were going to get together because two, credible guys on their own come together and go off their tag team. And I remember too, like at the time, because me and Carol were still together,
Right.
we really didn't want to drop the belts to rap metal, and we're like, we'll lose it. I mean, geez, we were like, we'll drop to the new movement. We don't care. Um, but we did. We really wanted to lose to Future Flight because, like, it makes sense. Coming off that big reign, we lose to you guys. You guys, we know you guys are going to take the division and be good with it. No worries. That didn't happen. Whose idea was Future Flight, and what are your memories of Future Flight?
So I want to say that Future Flight was my idea. I could again. I'm gonna start off by saying I could be wrong, but I want to say it was my idea, and it was just mainly I wanted to do a tag. Like I wanted to be part of a tag team. I wanted to win the tag gold just because it wasn't the main title, But I felt like it was a title that there wasn't a lot of competition in, or there wasn't like too much like promos happening for them, other than like the very couple like the very small groups. Like there was the new movement, there were you guys, there was rap metal, but like I just felt like it was really lacking, and I felt like we could have filled that spot. And initially, I was like trying to figure out who can I partner with, who's not doing anything, and eventually, it's Morris, and I'm like, holy shit, me and Morris, that sounds great. And we're both nerds, so we're like, let's put some really cool like superhero group names together, and like Future Flight is actually the name Alpha Flight, which is like this Canadian X-Men group sort of thing, and the Future Foundation, which is like this evolved form of the Fantastic Four. And that's how we got the name Future Flight, and we're like, all right, cool, and we're going to do these weird, like, kind of nerdy superhero gimmicks. I call myself the Star-Lord of the COH Galaxy, and he's Captain Canada, and just, like, it meshed so well, and, like, I honestly have no idea why nothing truly came from it. We could have been like, I think there was a tag tournament that we could have won at the time, and that I'm like, okay, cool, this tag tournament's happening. It's obviously gotta be me and Morris, and I think we lose in like the first or second round. And I honestly have no idea what happened, or what was going on with Future Flight, or what like Travis was wanted to use us as.
Yeah, it was odd. It was very very odd. I thought the same. I thought
The
that you guys were gonna go at least the finals, if not all the way. But
Yeah, like the best thing I can think of is if Travis didn't want us as a tag team champions for whatever reason, um, we were good at least giving people credibility because we were two kind of people who've been in CAW for like fucking ever.
yeah, well, I remember because shortly thereafter, it kind of it just ended. It was just done. I think that had a lot to do because at the time, like Morris has since come back, but
Yeah,
Morris at the time was kind of done,
yeah.
and he. So I think that I'm guessing that's why. I don't know if that sign was given to Travis a lot sooner than we saw.
I mean, I guess so. I had no idea. I feel like I had no idea that he wanted to leave until like it happened for like that brief moment.
Hmm. Yeah, because he just left. So I was like, all right, well, Kevin's back on his own, and then Morris came back like a few months later on Battleground, and
Yep.
you know it it is what it is. That for that time period though, it was around the last Ultimate Glory. It's funny now looking back, seeing how it's different from what we thought then. But at that time, so many people, or at least it felt like so many people, were done. You know, Stu was left COH, and Alex lost the retirement match, and then later Morris left very briefly. Copeland, he left. A lot of guys that were kind of there towards the beginning of COH. A lot of these original guys were done. For you, for someone who was there from the beginning, what was it like then? I mean, obviously, a lot of those guys have ended up coming back, which is great.
Right.
But at the time, a lot of them looked like that was it. Did you? What was that to you for seeing all those guys go at that time?
For me, like, I'm more surprised by there's two people I would be more surprised about leaving than anybody else, regardless of how long they've been a part of COH, and that's Nate and Steve, because as of this recording, like, we are the three people who were on the first episode. We are the three people who have been with COH since technically the beginning. Regardless of breaks and all that, like, we were the only ones that have done that. And, like, seeing people leave, I just kind of view it as, you just kind of either need a break, you need a break to just feel creative again, or you just have done what you wanted to do, or you felt like you've kind of ran your course. So I'm never surprised or, like, astonished when someone is, like, gone for good. And, like, at the time, I'm like, okay, Alex is doing things. Stu is doing things. I've never really known Copeland, so his loss didn't really impact me all too much. But, like, seeing Alex and Stu leave, it was just an understanding of, like, I know who they are, I know what they're trying to do, and I get why they would want to take this break, or at the time, like, totally back away from CAW.
Okay. Now, one great thing from it, because, like, obviously, like, oh, it sucked to see them go, and thankfully for those two guys, they've since come back, and now they're more refreshed, and we can do different things with the characters, and a lot of it, and this ties into this, like, it allowed the chance for other guys to rise up, because obviously there were some big spots left empty, and obviously those spots had to be filled, especially with a brand split. So that allowed a lot of the guys to kind of rise up to those spots to now where these guys are at, which I think is cool, which is great for them, because then they can come back and work with them. And
right.
What did AJ kind of called it the new generation in that promo. What did you what have you thought thus far of this new generation of COH?
I've been impressed by certain people in this new generation, but granted, for me, there are very few people, like, that I view as specifically in that kind of group and classification. Like, I don't even know who's technically a part of the new generation, right? Like, I know AJ technically views himself as part of the new generation, but at the same time, I don't. Because, like, he was around technically during the One Bully Nation. You guys were around during the One Bully Nation, So, like, how, like, for him, like, I don't view him as the man who's leading the charge. I don't view him that way. But I will view people like EW or Ben Hopkins or any other person I could think of. Like, those guys to me are the new generation. Those guys who totally came out of nowhere. These are, like, certain people who I might not even know right now. They're the new generation, and, like, a lot of them I feel like are doing a fairly decent job, and a lot of people that stepped up to the plate that we always give credit to. So I don't feel like listing the usual suspects, but, like, obviously Brandon Wolf, Caleb Blair, Kenyon, like yourself, like you guys definitely have stepped up. I know it's weird. Like I view certain people as not being a part of it, but like certain people that have stepped up also being in it. It's kind of strange with like when it comes to you and like AJ specifically.
Yeah, it's odd because I guess like me and AJ would be two people who would be like that people would consider, but we've been here for a
Yeah,
while.
even if it like AJ came back as a competitor like more recently than as just a like a manager position, to me I still view him as a member of like this one Bully Nation time period.
Hmm.
But like yeah, going back to that question though, a lot of the guys that have stepped up and a lot of the guys that I can view as part of the new generation have done fairly good and have been fairly successful, and I can see them moving up or staying wherever they need to be, regardless, like specifically wherever Travis wants to use them or how Travis wants to use them.
Okay. Now here comes the most popular question, like of every time that I do any Q&A that everyone asks, probably because they want to be, talked about. In your mind, who's the most underrated people in COH? It's everyone's favorite question. Everyone asks it.
Everybody's favorite question, and like, see, my problem is, and I said it during that last spiel, I don't want to list the usual people. You know, what's the point?
Right, because
Um,
people get hurt about it. They're like, why didn't you mention me?
like specifically, I'm gonna kind of overlap everybody. If people have said you've done good, most likely I think you've done good. And if because this was asked by Levi, right?
Yeah, this is Levi.
Yeah. So because I saw this earlier, if we had done this interview like before his heel turn, I would have specifically named Levi because I always thought Levi was doing a pretty good job. Um, but the fact that he has turned heel and the fact that he has been getting like positive feedback, there's no point in me naming him other than the fact of me naming him to say there's no point because guess what? Now you're part of the usual suspects. Now you're part of the group where people say, "Hey, all of these people who we really enjoy, all of you guys are good." But if I'm going to name people who I think are good that don't really get the credit, I'm thinking people like EW. I really enjoy EW's work, and I think he's actually underrated. People like fucking let me bring up the list right now. TJ Prophet, I feel like has always done a pretty decent job, and I feel like he might not get enough credit. Just anybody else really that like? There's a lot of new people who I still haven't fully felt out yet, so I can't really name a lot of the people that are being brought in now. Uh, I feel like Daniel Mars gets a lot of shit, and I actually enjoy his stuff. And you know what? Fuck it. I enjoy Mason Chronic a lot for whatever
Love
reason. I
Mason Chronic.
really enjoy Mason Chronic. But yeah, basically, if if you get your name heard a lot, or if you get a lot of like good things said about your characters right now, I don't want to name them. If someone specifically wants to know how I feel about them for whatever reason, they can find me on the Facebook. They can ask me themselves. But I don't see a point in like saying, "Hey, Shawn, you're doing a good job," and so is Kenyon, and so is Brandon, because you guys get that all the time. There's no
Yeah.
point.
You can only say, Brandon Wolf is doing so great for so many times before everyone's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah, Brandon's doing a good job. Congrats, Brandon.
So yeah, I like the choices though. Not going for like the usual like EW and guys like that. That's good.
Yeah,
Hopefully those guys, take this stuff and run with it because now their name's out there a little bit.
yeah.
All right, now your time in like after Future Flight and whatnot. I mean, Alex kind of in this question because he the way he phrases the question, he brings up all the stuff that we talked about earlier, but then he's like, where do you? He's like, do you think you can get to that level again, or you will find where you are now? Because certainly there has been a drop for the character. I'm
Yeah.
not to put blame on either side, but at one point you were at a certain point, and now the Kevin Cross character he's at a point like your team with the Great D, kind of, but like it's almost like there's been like periods where you're kind of Kevin isn't doing anything. Kevin is that doesn't really have a storyline, you know.
Yeah.
What's what do you think of this period? Why do you think that is, and do you think that you can rise back to a spot you once were?
So with that kind of like line of thinking, um, I am in this really weird spot of like nothing's going on for me. Nothing's happening. And I think that's also in part kind of the problem with where I am on the roster. I feel like in on Slam, I feel like if I were on Battleground, in all honesty, like there, I would have had a little bit more to do.
Hmm.
I feel like I would have had a little bit more opportunity. My problem with like, it's no problem being on Slam. But as a part of Slam, there's so many people I'm like, that might be an interesting matchup, but everybody's currently tied up. Everybody's already paired off into their feuds.
Hmm.
And when I'm in that kind of position, I'm stuck with, I don't want to say the scraps because I view everybody on the roster as being like pretty damn good, but I don't feel like I can use any of them to get into that main event because I'll be at best mid card kind of territory. And you can definitely escape from the mid card, but I think I would have an easier time getting back to the main event if I had more options. And I feel like over on Battleground, there are some feuds there that I could be a part of, or I could get out of it that would get me back to that part. And I think another problem with where I am right now, uh, there might need to be something to make Cross relevant, or there might need to be something that happened to Cross to have him kind of become a threat again. I don't know. It's a very weird thing. I definitely think I can definitely get back to that level. Hell, I feel like I can do good promos whenever the fuck I want, but it's just a matter of like right now with what's going on with all the different storylines, things like that. I'm stuck in like this kind of, I'm stuck waiting at like a restaurant for my table to come up. You know, I'm just kind of stuck waiting, and I could totally try and make something out of the people around me that aren't doing anything, but I'm also just kind of tossed into weird feuds that I don't exactly know why.
Right, right. Because
Like,
go ahead.
I don't know. I was just gonna say, like, last thing. I feel like what I did with Caleb Blair was great shit, and I feel like that should have kept me up there, and I think that has proved that I'm still up there. You know,
Right.
but it's just for whatever reason I'm kind of in the background right now.
Yeah, it's so odd, and that's one of the things that call it a shoot if you will. Um, that me and other people, and we've talked to Travis about this, and we've talked to each other about it, and we're just like, man, because like Kevin Cross is just in this like spot where like it's just but everyone's always like, you can do something here, because like everyone, like when obviously Alex isn't saying that, but like obviously for your own ability, you obviously can get there, but you need that thing. Like I've thought for the longest time, like after like me and AJ when we wrapped up our feud, I was like, man, there's like an easy feud there with Kevin and AJ. With how AJ has been, the type of heel that AJ is, which he can just pick apart everything, like that would it get you right back to at least a solid position. Like
Yeah, and like I would love to do something with AJ. I would love to do like that's someone where like when I was thinking of what can I do, it's like, oh, a feud with AJ would be great, but AJ's with you, AJ's with Shawn right now, or AJ's doing this stuff, you know, and it's like it's such a weird position
hmm
to like be in.
it is odd, but you don't think because do you think it's just that everyone kind of has something going on and you're just kind of there like, all right, where do I go? Do you think there's any other reason why you, I guess, haven't been pushed as strong in as of this, I guess, recent run? I would.
Right. I think a lot of it also stems from the fact that I'm probably just like some people might say this interview is, I'm just kind of too chill at this point where I don't want to like I don't want to bother Travis. I don't want to tell Travis, hey Travis, here's the storyline. Oh, you don't like it? How about this storyline? Or hey, how about we try and get me the title again? Like, I don't want to be that selfish because I feel like there are a lot of it comes from the fact that currently in COH there are so many storylines going on that I don't want to try and like force my way into any of them. And I would love to say like, hey, after this, I would love to have something with that person, but I just never want to. I guess it really does come down to me and just not telling Travis like, hey, I would like this feud at some point, or hey, let's make this happen. And where we are in COH with us being in like, we're a couple shows away from Ultimate Glory, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, I guess you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So like we're so close that there's no. I view it as like there's no point. And I guess I viewed it like that because I assumed we were always closer to it. Like we were always closer to it than we were.
hmm
That I'm like, all right, well, all this stuff's happening right now, so I can wait. I can wait for something to free up, or I can wait till post Ultimate Glory because that's when everything should be dissipated. That's when everybody should be kind of be free again, and that's where like these storylines should end and new storylines can pick up. So I guess I did this to myself in just the sense that I didn't want to try and poke my head into other feuds that I didn't view it as necessary or would make sense to be a part of.
Right. Now, one thing that you did do that, I mean, if people don't remember, just because it hasn't been really talked about that much, is you do actually have a number one contendership.
I do.
You have a world title match. You won that a long while ago. Uh, and nothing has really been pushed to fruition for a title match. Now, obviously, with Ray being the world champion, Ray's doing his thing with whether it be Blair or Patriot and Alex. So it's like all that weird mesh. But are we ever going to see Kevin Cross get his world title match?
That's that's I guess mainly up to Travis. I I feel like it's something I'm going to use in promos as a joke since that's the kind of character Cross is right now. If I ever make a promo again for COH, because as I told you before, I'm a very hey, if you need a promo, let me know. And as of now, I probably take the initiative. That's really my advice to all the young CAW upstarts. Take the initiative because you'll end up like me, kind of fading away. um, no, it's like it's something that either needs to be acknowledged or needs to be retconned. I think I pitched ideas of what we can do with that, but there just hasn't been the need. I could be wrong. I could have just been some kind of fever dream where I messaged Travis these ideas, but I feel like mainly that's kind of my fault. But hopefully, at some point, it'll be Kevin Cross against Ray or whoever might have the title at the time.
If Travis decides, because right now I don't, unless he pulls something out of his ass and there's a title match and he does it like on a slam, it's probably not going to get used before Ultimate Glory.
Definitely not.
So most likely, I mean, if he wants to, it could get dropped, or if it gets used, I could see whoever is world champion by the end of Ultimate Glory, Ray or Blair. I think easy program there either way.
Yeah,
But
like part of also I think part of it is right now I wouldn't want to use it because it's like you said, there's a lot going on around Ray, and it wouldn't make sense to add on another layer because Ray has his Ultimate Glory match with Caleb Blair coming up. He has the whole like Patriot and Alex thing that happened. That I'm not sure if it's still happening or not. It's very weird. But yeah, there were so many things going on at that time that I don't know if, like, going on currently, that I don't know if I would want to try and fight my way into the mix, or it would just make more sense for me to wait until things are a bit less chaotic.
All right. Now, I mean, with Ray, because this kind of ties into the season, Ray came in, and obviously he's world champion right now, so he's obviously done a good job for himself. And in turn, with this whole new generation, Ray has also, whether it be directly or indirectly, brought in some names from other promotions that he's been, and they have come over to COH. For someone, you being a COH original, what was it like seeing all these, I guess, guys that I would think, unless you've seen them, that you didn't know of, and then they came in, and a lot of them, I mean, Ray came in right away, and he was like, "I'm the man."
Right. So I don't want to do this, but I feel like Ray gets this weird category of his own, right? Like I've heard the dude talk. I knew about Ray before COH because he was in VCW for the end of the second revival or whatever. Like I had seen what Ray could do. I could hear what Ray could do. Like he's legitimately an amazing speaker. He's one of the best promo people around. We've all said that. We all acknowledge this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going back to like characters, there's and this is a common complaint, and I don't want to be that guy, but he's very stone cold. And I know he's gone on to say like how he's makes it different, but to me, I see stone cold, and I have no problem with that because Ray is a rare case of a man who can back it up. And again, like ability wise, he's phenomenal. I'm going to keep on stressing this so he doesn't think I'm like hating on him. But because he literally just like the Kevin Cross question post. But so like Ray is in this weird category on his own, but like he's good. Like I knew he was good when he showed up. Like that's fine. But my problem with people like the Great D and Chris Knight and whoever else may be a part of that group that I am not aware of, I had no problem with them showing up. I have no problem with them being. My problem though was them being where they were on the card so early. Like I don't know why I saw Scott versus one of these three like 10 to 20 times in the span of him as champion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it like obviously exaggeration, but like that's what it felt like. I felt like every other slam it was either one of them winning an opportunity to be the number one contender or one of them having a number one contender match that for would have a dusty finish or whatever, or something would go wrong and Scott would retain. And like I didn't really see other than like I didn't see why that weird portion of Scott as COH champion, the our version of the authority angle, why they were so prevalent when you had other people like myself who could have had like a really decent feud with Scott of like me seeing what Travis has become, me seeing what COH is, me being a man who has been around since day one and could have given his thoughts of like how COH used to be. And I feel like there could have been a storyline there, but I guess it was another thing where there was so much going on in the title picture that I just didn't want to get lost in that muck.
Understandable, because for a guy from your standpoint, and then not just you, anyone who's in COH to see that, it's kind of odd, and it's like why so soon? So
It's like it's a mixture of why so soon and why so often. There were so many Scott versus Knight D or like Getty's matches or some variation of like two of them or like a fatal four way. It was just I don't understand why so much of just those people.
yeah, there was that during that whole Scott reign. That was the basis.
Yeah.
So it was like it would have been nice if a different face got in there, or maybe they weren't always in there. They got shot and if they lost, they went to the next guy. But they, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, like it's a matter of just like wishing the booking was slightly different, but already happened, so like, what's the point?
Now, for you being a COH this whole time, you've had to see all these different things that have happened all over the years, and one of those being the fan interaction. And maybe you've seen it as the same, but from what I've noticed is, and whether that's good or it's bad, there's been a lot more fan interaction with COH as of within the last year, say. Um, and obviously a lot that has to do with like some of the fans that Ray or like the Redneck Nation, because they're very vocal.
Right.
If you're going to say anything about them, whether you agree or disagree, they're very vocal about what they think, and they're going to make sure you know it. And we've seen it as of late, whether it be the fans' displeasure with the Patriot character and the way he conducted himself, whether it be a Snapper Tap Inc. winning Tag Team Warfare and beating the wow, their name's something, but Nightmare, and a lot of people, it's almost like, I don't want to say fan revolt, because those things, there's a lot that I agree with the fans on. So I'm
Right.
actually glad that they did raise their voice and like, hey, Travis, because it's great because it always lets the owner know what you like and what you don't like,
Right.
and so it's great. How do you see that, and from the different fans' interaction, do you think that's better that these fans are like this, or do you think that that could cause potential problem?
Well, it's I appreciate the fact that COH is being viewed so often. Or I appreciate the fact that people are being so vocal about whatever they want to be vocal about in COH. That's fine, because that's showing people are watching, and that's ultimately the goal of you and Travis and everybody else who run shows, is they just want their stuff to be seen. So I can appreciate for that, but at the same time, you bring up like the problem with it, and that's you have this like you have a show that's can almost be held hostage because of it, and it's a lot of things, when it comes to CAW are just weird, and it's this weird moment right now in COH where I would rather see the show Travis wants to run, and I'm pretty sure he's been doing that without like being influenced by them. But I just don't want to see the show that like they 100% want, because I feel like it wouldn't share the spotlight for the other amazing talent that we have in COH.
Mm-hmm.
So like I appreciate them existing, I appreciate them being vocal, but I just want Travis and you guys, regardless of what show it is, I want to make sure that you guys are doing the shows you guys want to make. I feel like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to take a little bit, especially if it's mass,
Yeah,
and
it's understandable to appreciate criticism and looking at criticism, but at the same time,
don't have one small thing that the fans that haven't seen the full story of yet and change everything.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Don't change everything in the landscape because one thing is being disliked.
Uh, and then here's the last question before we throw a few names.
All
In
right.
I guess in a year, and we'll keep this to just COH because this is really relevant. In a year, where do you want to see Kevin Cross be at?
In a year, I would love to see Kevin Cross, at least sometime at that point, having one more shot and having a proper title reign. That's the one thing that like I feel like I've lacked on, because in COH specifically with the Kevin Cross character, that hasn't happened. And regardless of where we could go with it, regardless of whether I'm still the same Cross or if I'm a new iteration or whatever, I feel like I deserve just that one more opportunity. And maybe after this, because of this, I'll try and bug Travis a little bit more to try and get to that point. But yeah, within a year's time, I would like to see Cross having at least one more shot at being a COH champion or a global champion or whatever.
Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go to this name association.
All right.
Throw a couple names. Whatever comes to mind, go with it. So, uh, we're gonna start with a man that we talked about a little bit. Phoenix Adam. I mean, we talked about his previous character, but what about? I mean, it's a pretty big deal now.
Yeah. Adam is a great guy. I love him. I feel like, honestly, as much as I love him and as good as he is, he gets a bit too inspired by certain individuals that actually wrestle, and I would like to see him kind of break out from that.
So be Adam, not Marty Scurll.
You said it. I didn't.
I'll take the heat. Uh, Ben Hopkins.
Fun. He's a very fun character. I was surprised to find out that we both like Jimmy Havoc. Which, fun fact, I love Jimmy Havoc. Be a good guy, good speaker, and definitely a fun character.
J Crack.
One of the funniest fucking guys in CAW. I feel like we can leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Caleb Blair.
Definitely, I feel like he's a bit more creative than people might have imagined. I was pleasantly surprised by what we came up with for our feud.
Scott Adams.
The biggest asshole at CAW. No, Scott's just that level of asshole. He's gonna be a dick to you, but for whatever reason, you're his friend.
Didn't he make you a call or something like Blackers? I could have remembered.
He also can't tell the difference between a Latin man and a black man, but that's on him, I guess.
M accuracy. Steve, not the Patriot. Different guy.
Obviously not the Patriot. They're two different people. Steve is very creative, very outspoken, maybe a little too much for his own good, but I appreciate how honest and how true to himself he can be.
Okay. AJ Young.
An interesting person, definitely evolved since I first saw him. Unique, and probably has one of my favorite Trons that I ever made for someone.
He does have a great Tron. You did a good job with that. A lot of the Trons you did were great.
When I want to make them, I make them, and I would like to take this time to apologize to the amount of people whose Trons I have been blowing off.
Okay, now, Fisk, Andrew, I mean, you're in ECF now.
Fisk or Andrew, man, for whatever reason, I just want to say he's a good boy. He's young, right? Isn't Fisk like...
Yeah, he's younger than I am, so...
Yeah, no, Fisk is just Fisk as a character, very interesting. I like how he's subtly he's a very subtle nerd, as he's acknowledged that Fisk comes from Wilson Fisk.
Andrew the person is not a subtle nerd.
I appreciate how subtle the characters, the character was. I haven't really spoken too much to Andrew about certain things. So I didn't really know how nerdy he could be.
You guys, I'm going to take a guess that you guys will probably have some interesting conversations based off of me talking to Andrew and what I know and what he knows. Yeah. The Goonie.
The nicest man apparently in CAW. I genuinely, I feel like he's just in this because he enjoys it. He's a humble guy. I don't think he'll ever let anything go to his head. Um, it almost feels like he lacks ego.
He he does. I've never seen him ever be like, "What about me?" Anytime I've ever talked to him or anyone else, it's always about someone else. And when he always, I think he jokes, but he might be real. He was like, "Oh, I want to put you over. I don't want to win," and it was against whoever. So one thing, just to throw to Saguni, keep up with the awesome Facebook posts, because oh, they're
I hear this every time I think I listen to a Shawn Walsh show. It's like somehow this will be wormed in of, man, the Goonies Facebook posts are the best.
he's great. Whenever
He
he's
is
talking
great.
wrestling, he just, and I don't say this to be mean. I say he's great. Like, he's such a mark, and it's so great. Like, like how excited he got over Randy Orton and AJ Styles. I was like, it got me more excited about it. And he's just, and then he'll just randomly one day just be like, "Oh, I hope you're all having a good day," and I'm just like, "Ah, oh, Goonie, so nice."
Goonies like the human version of like a cartoon dog. He's just nice. Like he's just nice.
Now, last but certainly not least, one man that you met out of CAW, Travis.
Um, by far, I feel like overworked, over like has to deal with everybody's bullshit. Just the man does so much, and I feel like Travis is probably one of the most underappreciated people in COH because his shit's so good, and like I know we said so much about him, and like we've said so much about him during this, but that doesn't throw away the fact that he's been doing this for so long. He has been a part of not only COH, YT stuff. He's been CAW for so long, and it's just I'm just fucking amazed by him for being able to do all this shit.
Yes, same. I also think one thing that's underappreciated is his call work not being just the boss.
Oh yeah,
Everyone
definitely.
knows he's like the boss and like, oh, Travis, he's great, but everyone like they always forget like as like
Scrat Boogie, Travis Wright.
as part of the roster, so underrated and so good that he does not get enough recognition for it.
It's He's one of the people who when I saw when he was part of like SWA, and like I think technically he's still a part of SWA, but like in SWA and like YLOWA and like other places, I'm just like astounded that he hasn't really had the main title. But like I've never like personally I've never seen him in a show where he was given like he was the man, where he was the guy, because he definitely should be. He has that potential in whatever he does. Fuck it. Hashtag give Travis a chance, God damn it.
Really. Now, that about wraps it up there. I'd like to thank you for coming on. Nice to look
I
back at all
truly
this.
appreciate being on.
It was great. Hopefully, next time we do this, maybe it will be in the second reign for Kevin Cross as world champion or global champion. Maybe.
Maybe. If not, we'll just talk more about wrestling and we'll talk about character and shit like that.
I'm down either way. Thanks
Would
again.
be no problem.